Japan is like my own little island where, I have the space and the headspace to just forget the world and sort of develop myself, I guess. Hi, my name's Taira Wilson. I'm from London. I play the guitar and I sing, and I write my own music. It's a bit of a mishmash of different styles, I guess. London kind of crushed me a bit. Like, there's so much happening in London. I felt like I couldn't find my own identity. So I came to Japan to sort of escape all of that. And for me, like, Japan is like my own little island. I have the space and the headspace to just forget the world and sort of develop myself, I guess. I got a lot of friends here, I got a girlfriend here, and so it's just, my momentum is keeping me here now. I was never like into Japan. I was an art student and I had a friend who was studying in Japan. So I came over on a holiday thinking, I'd get like cheap accommodation and it'd be a good chance to see like another country a little bit cheaper than it would be normally. The cheap accommodation didn't really materialize, but what I did get was a deep sort of inspiration from being in Japan and seeing a culture that's so sort of strangely familiar, but also so different. So yeah, it was kind of accident. Wasn't really into Japan, but now I am. I started off in London, but London was quite crushing, especially for a new musician. So coming over to Japan, like suddenly you're kind of a minority. You're a foreigner doing music in Japan, and that like makes people interested initially, and that really helps out because then you've already got their attention, and that's the hardest bit about doing music, is getting people's attention in the first place. Music generally in Japan is sort of looked at a little bit differently than we look at it. Our culture, especially in London, like it's a real music city, and music's seen like as essential to like happiness and like just life generally. Whereas here, music is seen as just like something that like maybe a certain type of person does, and maybe it's something people enjoy now and again, but it's not really something people need in their life. Although I think they do need it, it's just like circumstantial that there's not that kind of attitude there. That's kind of a big difference between London and Tokyo. For example, there's lots of like music venues here, but the kind of whole scene is kind of run a bit differently. There's not many places you can go just to chill out and listen to music. There's a few like jazz places like that, but generally you have to know who you're going to go and see and go for them. What I want to see is more of a culture where like, that place is guaranteed to have good music. That place is going to have good music, and people just can go out and enjoy it when they want to see good music, not particular artists. That would like create a way healthier scene for like grassroots to like young musicians that are coming up to aspire to like belong to like more of a culture rather than just like make it for themselves. Yeah, people enjoy the kind of music I do, which is like guitar music, singer-songwriter kind of music. Guitar playing, like there's tons of people that really love like jazz and blues, and I do incorporate some jazz and blues into my music, so a lot of people can appreciate it for that reason. My advice generally to people that are coming here to do music is it's like anywhere really. You have to start from the bottom. You have to grow it like it's a business, from the grassroots up. You got to treat your first fans really well. You got to like email them, make them feel like they're a part of your growth. Forget about the labels, because like labels are only interested in a couple of genres. Companies really dominate like the major music scene in Japan, probably more so than like back home in London or like America or anywhere like that. So unless you're like a squeaky clean kind of J-pop kind of wannabe, or you're a DJ, like it's good for DJs here, and you're not going to get any help from anyone else except your close friends, your fans, and yeah, people close to you. But what I really love about Japan is it feels like it's my island, and it's like I'm here, I'm away from like my past, and I don't have like a dirty past or anything, but I feel like when I come here, I'm like a fresh slate. I'm like a blank canvas, and I can really build on, like creatively I can build up to what I want to be without too much pressure, which I got in London. I felt a lot of pressure in London. So that's kind of the best thing about Japan. It's such an alien place to be. I feel like I'm just like a cat walking around the city. As a foreigner here, people generally assume that you don't really understand anything. You can't speak the language. And they also, I get the impression that they feel that their etiquette is way above your head as a foreigner. Coincidentally, for me, it is. But I think for a lot of foreigners living here, it might not be the case, so it's probably annoying for them. Music is seen, it's very dominated by companies like labels, and from what I've seen, they sort of treat musicians like employees. Very, they're paid salaries and they're told what to do, and I think it really stifles the true creativity and the true talent that is actually here. But people outside of Japan don't get to see much. Housing here is generally incredibly difficult for foreigners living here. It's quite discriminatory against foreigners. If you're a foreigner, it's quite hard to get an apartment, basically. And I've had a lot of experience with that. Oh, you'd just be, sitting in an estate agent, like looking for places, and you'll be like, oh, how about this one? And they'll call the landlord, and ask them like, is it available? Yeah, it's available. Oh, there'll be foreigners. Oh, it's not available. Like, that's basically what happens. And you're quite lucky to find a place that will accept foreigners. I guess like generally foreigners are only here short term, and they often just leave, like suddenly, abruptly. So I can kind of see a little bit why a landlord might not want to have a foreigner living there. Also, we're not used to having to be so quiet in apartments. Like, apartments here are like made out of balsa wood. Like, you can practically hear people breathing in the rooms next to you, in the houses next to you. So that takes quite a lot of getting used to. I used to always play my guitar like from midnight until really late, like back home. Just that was the time that I like to practice, but I can't do it here. So yeah, we're probably quite bad tenants generally. That's probably why we're discriminated against. Being a foreigner is a bit of a novelty, and it gets you people's attention straight away. And normally that's the hard part about anything. That's the hard part about meeting people. It's that initial like hello, and it's the hard part about making fans. It's like getting people to stop and listen. So here's kind of good for both of those things. I'm releasing a new EP in March, on March 9th. The promotion company I'm working with is my friend's company. It's called More Than Music. More Than Music really understands the problems with the music scene, I guess, in Japan, and is really trying to create that culture, that environment that really like encourages variety and quality. And so you should check out More Than Music on Facebook or their website, morethanmusic.jp. Another thing that baffles me about the music scene in Japan, mostly, especially the pop music scene, is how it doesn't take any influence from anything truly Japanese. I think all great forms of art and music takes influence from like tradition and what's happened locally in that particular scene, like before. It takes influence from something that's really like, that's cultural and like has a root in the scene that it's like happening in. A lot of Japanese pop music just appears to want to sound like it's not really, it's superficial and it's not really from here. It's like trying to be a bit Western or something. I hate that, and I hate that in all kind of music. There's some really, really cool Japanese singers and some really cool Japanese music, traditional music. Like there's like minyo singing, there's like temple music called gagaku. There's singers like Misala Hibari. There's this thing called enka that was really popular in the 50s, and there was some amazing singers doing that. But none of the new music takes influence from anything like that. And I think that's why it seems conceited and superficial to me. It doesn't seem honest. It's not coming from an honest place. What it's coming from probably is like a company boardroom. That's, some business-minded people are looking at what's popular in the world and trying to recreate it. And that's just not what art is to me. That's the same like in a lot of places in the world. It's not like a thing just in Japan. I don't want to seem negative about music in Japan because there is so much good stuff out there. It's just frustrating that it's not the stuff getting attention. So I mentioned More Than Music earlier. More Than Music, in its small way, is trying to give attention to really quality, like Japanese and foreign bands, and try and bring that to a wider audience.